It's Monday morning, and John reluctantly drags himself out of bed. His enthusiasm for work about as lively as a panda bear on sedatives. He's not alone in this daily struggle. Various studies show that up to a whopping 85% of people worldwide are disengaged or actively dislike their jobs. Now imagine yourself in John's shoes. Or maybe you're living it right now. The monotony, the lack of purpose, the feeling that your talents are being used about as effectively as a chocolate teapot. But wait a minute, what if I told you that in less time than it takes to watch a movie, you could gain the tools to rewrite your career story, to transform that Monday morning dread into excitement so palpable you don't need an alarm clock to wake up? In this workshop, you will explore the key factors that lead to career satisfaction and fulfillment. You will dive into practical strategies for identifying your strengths, passions, and values. And it won't involve any trust falls or cringeworthy icebreakers. Most importantly, you'll walk away with practical steps to redesign your career. A roadmap to a future where your work doesn't just pay the bills, but actually makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. Imagine that. So, stop being a spectator in your own career and become the architect of your professional future. And who knows, we might even make Mondays great again.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yuan. I'll be your co-host for today. As a career coach over the last 10 years or so, whenever I see a study or a survey about people's careers, all right, there's always a significantly large number of people who are not happy in their careers. The term, the Great Resignation, was coined in 2021. Right? But yet today it is still happening. Right? Many people are still being very, very unhappy. Why is this so? Now, this study by LinkedIn and Microsoft actually suggests 3 reasons behind this sudden uptick in people who are not happy or wanting to resign. They say burnout, right? A lack of learning opportunities. And they even blame artificial intelligence. In 2023, a study was done for Singapore. Right? And the job dissatisfaction reasons were listed here. Right? Do you fall into any of those categories? Lack of progression, fewer benefits than expected, increased responsibility, so on and so forth. Right? It even went on to say that many Singaporeans feel that they are underpaid. I like to suggest that instead of being underpaid, perhaps we feel that we are underappreciated, we are undervalued. This is a very popular topic. Over the last 14 months or so, this is the 5th time I've been asked to actually conduct this topic for WSG alone. In fact, even among my other corporate clients, I've been asked multiple times to come back and do this as well. In fact, the last time I did this was actually last month, where there were about close to 40 people who attended in a live one-to-one session. In all the work that I've done as a career coach and doing my workshops on this topic, typically career and job dissatisfaction, the issues really can be grouped into these categories. Do you find that you have some or even quite a few of these issues? I already see in the chat box that there's a lack of progression. Some of you may feel that undervalued as well. Okay, so what I want to do is try and find out precisely from you right now, what are those issues that you are facing? So I'm going to conduct a small poll. So stagnation, 44% seems to be slightly ahead. One better salary, also another important factor here. Burnout also seems to be quite high. All right, so the few key reasons here are, okay, top few. One better salary. What is the other one? One better salary, stagnation. Dissatisfaction also seems to be quite high. Work-life balance as well. All right, let's scroll down further. Most of you have not attended my workshops before, so glad to see you here. And as far as job status is concerned, unemployed for either more or less than 6 months seems to be majority of you, almost just over 70%. And as far as age group is concerned, most of you are about 45 to 55, all right? In fact, the majority will be between 36 to 55 years old. Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing these results with me. Now, I can really empathize with you over all those issues that you've just mentioned. I've been working for over 30 years now, right? These here were my various jobs and careers during those times. Made a lot of changes, I made a lot of shifts, and a lot of them were for a variety of reasons, such as I didn't agree with management or the culture of the company. There were work alignment issues with my values. All right, it didn't align with what I found important for me at that time. Right, industry changes occurred, and also the fact that there were new opportunities for me as well. Okay, these shifts were not easy. Some were not as good as I hoped it to be, but I learned many things, right? Many lessons, and ultimately all of them were very, very rewarding. Okay, and now what I've done is that I've used those lessons I've learned to conduct workshops like this today, all right? And also to help many, many people on one-on-one sessions. Okay? What you are going to hear today is really very practical, very real world, right? And I hope you would find these all useful for you. Okay? Let's talk about definitions. So here, we're going to focus on the word redesign. What do we mean by redesign? Redesign, if you look up the dictionary or in any sort of Wikipedia and all that, it basically says to revise an appearance, function, or content, right? But then again, if you look at it, nowadays, there's a lot of talk about redesigning your job, right? Especially within the company, they say, oh, we need to redesign jobs so that people feel less burnout, more content and all, right? Here, today, my topic is also going to talk about careers. So what's the difference between redesigning your job and redesigning your career? Is there a big difference? Are there similarities, right? So I'm going to try and make sure that we understand this. So as far as redesigning a job is concerned, we're talking about improving a specific role within an organization, okay, within the organization itself. Then what about career? One, the goal is to improve our quality of the work we are doing, as well as the satisfaction that we have in doing that job. We want to change, okay, whether it's the nature of the role or the function itself. Okay? It involves developing our skills, whether it's enhancing our existing skill sets or learning new skills. Yeah. It is also a response to change that we have experienced or we anticipate to experience. Now, the other thing I want to make sure we all understand is this. Now, my definition of a career, right, is that a career is made up of many jobs. Right now, it could be the same type of jobs, or it could be jobs in different areas, different industries, right? But our whole career path comprises different types of jobs, right? So because of this definition, what I'm going to share with you as the output of today's session is really along the lines as follows. The key thing here is that we are the drivers, right? You are the driver of your career, all right? And I want you to have that mentality as we move along in the next couple of hours or so, okay? So when we talk about redesigning our career, essentially we are going to say focus on what we do in our current job with a view that how it fits into the broader way we look at our career. As I mentioned, it is self-initiated. We are the driver of our career, right? We focus on what we can do immediately, but ultimately how this builds up to the longer term. Now, for those of you who are currently working, right, we focus on what you can do within the organization, but again, within the broader context of how it fits into your total career path. And obviously, this involves either upskilling or reskilling. All right. So we understand the definition of redesigning your career. And this is what I'm going to sort of hinge on as we go along for the next couple of hours or so. Okay. All right. So the focus here now is to make sure you understand that the redesigning part of your career is a continuous process. It is not a destination, it is a journey. All right. So here, what I'm going to do is over the next couple of hours, share with you two particular categories. All right. One is what factors you need to think about when you're looking at redesigning your career. And then the next portion is really what actions you can take. All right. So let's focus on the first one. Let's talk about factors to consider. Let's talk about factors to consider. All right. Now, I like this analogy. When we talk about looking forward, right, what we can do as far as our careers are concerned, looking forward to the next step and all, we need to look at what's behind us or what we are currently doing. So it's a bit like pulling back the bow, right? In order for the arrow to move forward, you need to pull back with enough strength and enough conviction so that you can move forward in the right path. So this is exactly what I'm focusing on now. Is really to understand who you really are, okay? And in this process, all right, the whole idea here is to make sure our professional identity, the person we are at work or in while we are doing our job, is aligned with who we are as a person, as an individual, in our terms of our personal identity. Now, for those of you, the 20% of you who've been to my workshops before, you will know that I try and keep it simple, and therefore I want to be able to answer 4 questions you see here. What's important to me? What engages me? What am I good at? And what I like to do. All right. Now, those of you who've been to a career coach before, you will know that they typically capture all these 4 questions in these 4 letters: values, interests, personality, and strengths. Okay, so VIPS, right? However, what I want to do, and there's lots of ways to capture this. Now, those of you, again, who has been to my workshops before, you will know that I keep it simple, but really focusing on 2 sets of exercises. Now, I am going to give you a brief outline of this exercise because, I want to focus a lot more on the action part, which I think is different from my previous session. But I'm going to give you links to how these exercises are done so that if you need more insights as information, you can go and take a look at it in further detail. Okay? All right. So the first one is this, the meaningful experience exercise. Okay. Essentially, it is looking back at what you are doing and what you have done before. Okay, so you basically do 4 columns of data, collect your own data. You look at least 3 past or current jobs that you are doing right now. You describe what those activities are in each of those jobs. And here is the more important part. For each job, you describe what you like most about the job and what you dislike most about the job. So this is very, very important because it then helps you detect if there's any common themes or threads in what you have liked, what you like to do and what you didn't like to do in your current and your past jobs, right? Things that make it meaningful to you. That's why the exercise is called meaningful experience. Okay? So I'm going to use Jane as an example of how this data could be filled in. Now, Jane was an ex-client of mine, right? She came to see me a few years ago, asking me to help her to identify what she could do because she was at a crossroads as far as her career is concerned, right? So I've asked her to go through some of these exercises. And this is an example of what she has done. I'll share this with you. Okay, so Jane chose these three careers to jot down in this exercise. Okay, so senior marketing manager, she was a volunteer at a non-profit organization, a freelance marketing consultant. And here she described what those roles were, as you can see in the yellow box. So you should do the same, okay? Describe what those roles are for you, whether you're the roles that you're currently doing now or things that you have done before, right? It could be paid, it could be volunteer, unpaid, okay? So long as it's meaningful to you, so long as things that you have devoted a significant amount of time in doing, right? So Jane did this, and then she went on to do the next one, which is basically looking at what she liked about the jobs and what she didn't like about the jobs, right? Those things that she liked in the jobs are in the blue. Those that didn't like about the job are in the red. If you want to take a look closely at what these things are. So the blue things, she liked collaborating. She liked making a positive impact. She liked having control. What she didn't like was doing the same type of things, a routine, right? She didn't like working with limited resources and difficult people and dealing with inconsistent income and working long hours, all right? So again, as you go through the exercises, these are the things you need to do. So now, what happens after you've collected all this? What happens after you collected all this, right? So as far as Jane was concerned, well, let me show you what Jane said.
After analyzing the themes in my past roles, I noticed that I enjoy collaborating with others, making a positive impact, and learning new skills. On the other hand, I disliked doing the same type of work repeatedly, dealing with difficult personalities, and having limited resources.
So here, we want to identify patterns and themes, right? So Jane identified these patterns, okay? She enjoyed collaborating, she enjoyed making positive impact, okay? What she didn't like to do, as you see in the words here, routine work, difficult people, limited resources, okay? Again, if you want to do a screenshot of this, by all means do so, all right? So the idea here now is that you go through the exercise, right? And try and detect a pattern. All right? So the whole idea here is to make sure you understand what's important to you, what engages you, and using all your previous experiences to try and understand if there's a pattern involved. All right? Are we okay with this? Okay? So that is the meaningful experience exercise. Okay? So next one. This particular exercise is really looking at your own skills and experience. So when I ask you, what are you good at? Many people don't have a problem in putting this down, right? I'm sure you don't as well, right? So essentially is what are you competent in? When I ask you the next question, many people have to take a slide back and say, oh, I never really thought about this, right? My question many times I ask people is that the things that you are good at, do you like to do them? All right? So it is about what? Preference. Whether you prefer to do some of these things, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that even though you are good at something, you like to do it. Correct or not? All right? So this exercise is what I call the affinity quadrant exercise. So competency here, the 4 boxes, very simple. I'm not good at this, I'm good at this, all right? The preference, I don't like to use, I like to use, okay? So what does this mean? If I look at what Jane has done, in the top right corner, the purplish color, I'm good at this, I like to use, okay? Essentially, these are your motivated skills. In other words, these are skills and experiences you really feel that you're good at and you really like to use, right? So these are very important skills to you, okay? Those are in the red box are basically what we call burnout skills. Burnout skills. Why do we call them burnout skills? Because it is what? It are skills that you are good at, but every time you use those skills, you feel stressed out. You feel stressed out. In today's world where we are so focused on mental well-being and avoiding burnout, knowing what your burnout skills are is very, very important, isn't it? Very important. Okay, let's talk about the yellow box. I'm not good at this. I like to use it. Okay, these are skills that we want to develop further. Okay, because we are very interested in it, right? And we want to use it, but we feel that we are not good enough in this. And then obviously the blue box at the bottom, right? I'm not good at this. I don't like to use it. Chances are they probably won't play a very big part in your career development or your career plans. And we call them what? Irrelevant skills. Okay. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, a few seconds to take a screenshot. So now, once you understand these concepts, all right, you've gone through the exercise, you've filled up all these points, then you need to think about, okay, what do I do with this information? Well, the first thing you need to understand here is this. When you know what your developmental skills are, where do you want to push these skills to, right? Can you type into the chat box, those skills in the yellow box, which color do you want to push them to? Do you want to push them to the purple box or the green box, the red box or the blue box? Okay, some people say purple, right? Most of you are right. You have to push your developmental skills so that you become good at this, right? And therefore they become your motivated skills. What does this mean? It basically means that when you are looking for jobs, okay, you want to know what you are good at, what you prefer to do, where you want to further develop. You want jobs that allow you to exercise as much of those areas as possible. Correct or not? Right? No point going to jobs where either if you have to use skills and experiences that are irrelevant, all right? If you have to use skills and experiences that burns you out, okay, the burnout skills portion, the ones in the red box, I'm not saying that there will be no jobs that does that, but awareness means you can manage. You need to manage this, okay? For example, some of my past roles, I've used skills which are in the red box, the burnout box, but because they only occupy about maybe 20 to 30% of my total work that I need to do, the job was still okay. However, if the burnout skills usage crossed over 50%, that was my benchmark, crossed over 50%, then I felt that maybe it's time to look elsewhere. So here is something you need to think about as well. One other big factor that you need to think about is once you know all these things, a combination of what you are good at, what you like to do, and where you really want to learn more how to do, means that you know how you use those skills to help people. All right? So this is a very important thing you need to know, especially when it comes to the next step, which I'm going to elaborate on in the next couple of slides. But one thing, so far we've talked about all these things, right? What's important to me, what engages me, what I like to do, what am I good at, okay? What you need to understand is that when you are able to answer these 4 questions, it basically gives you an idea of what's important, what your values are at work. Do you all know, can you all give me examples of work values? Can you type into the chat box and tell me what are some of the work values that you have or you think you should have? Maybe you type into the chat box. Somebody said integrity. What else? Legacy, work-life balance, okay, job security, respect, I like that, teamwork, empathy, accountability. A lot of very good factors. Yeah? In essence, if you look at it, values can be categorized into these few areas, whether it's work-life balance, opportunity to grow, meaningful work, financial security. In fact, if you look at it, under meaningful work, if you are in Gen Z, it's very, very important to you. You probably find that it's very, very important to you, right? As far as learning opportunities are concerned, 9 in 10 people in Southeast Asia say learning adds purpose to their work. So values are very important. Values, and you need to know what are your values at work. Okay, so going through the exercises just now will give you an idea of what your values are. You need to list this down because that is going to help you then think about what you can do as far as your next step is concerned, whether it's in your job or in your career. I mentioned solving problems, how you help people, right? Now, this is such a critical component, and I always use this as a secret weapon for my clients and my workshop participants, okay? When you use all those 4 boxes, what's important to you, what engages you, what you like to do, and what you are good at, you use all that to solve problems, it becomes your superpower. Now, why is it so critical to know what problems you solve? Now, I'm not sure whether many coaches, career coaches, talk about this, but this has always been one of my key criteria when we are talking about making a career adjustment, whether it is a career change or a career switch, or maybe even finding a new job in a different company. Right? You have to understand that if we know what our problem-solving skills are, what problems we solve, it basically reflects our value add, right? It is the benefit we give. Now, this benefit we give is to who? Can you tell me? When I say give benefit, right? Who is this benefit giving to? Can you type into the chat box? Who is this benefit giving to? Linda says company, employer. Yeah, correct. All right. It is to the employer ultimately, right? Especially if you are looking for a job. If you are wanting to become an entrepreneur and be your own business, then obviously it's clients. But here, today's instance, I'm talking about employers. All right. So if you are able to clearly describe and communicate the benefit you give to the employer, it means that you become important to the employer. And what happens when you become important to the employer? What is the employer willing to give to you? Can you type into the chat box? What is the employer willing to give to you? They give you more job, okay? Essentially, isn't it? They are willing, more than likely to willing to give you the value that you can command in the workplace. So that is why I feel it is so important to understand what are the problems you solve. So the question now here is then, how do I find out? How do I find out what problems I can solve? Well, this is the very basic part of things that you need to know, right? You already know what your skills and experiences are, correct, right? And the problems you solve is really using your own skills and experiences. But then, how do you then communicate the problems that you can solve to other people? How do you do this, right? Well, essentially, if you look at it, you can illustrate this in the accomplishments that you have made. Because the accomplishments really is a proxy for how you solve the problem, right? So let's take a look at what Jane has gone through. Again, I bring Jane back in because these are exactly the same things that she has gone through with me. Right. So firstly, Jane, in her skills and experience, she basically said, no, she's very good at developing marketing campaigns, collaborating with people, managing social media. Okay. The proof here is really in terms of her accomplishments, right? Her accomplishments. So these were her accomplishments. These were her accomplishments, right? So you can take a look here. Develop comprehensive marketing strategies, launch at least 6 major social media campaigns, manage over 30 marketing and social media specialists across 3 different countries, right? So her skills and experience, her accomplishments. And typically, you will put this in your CV, right? Okay? Those of you who have done your CVs before, these are very standard things that you put into your CV. Okay, so now the question here is this. Let's bridge the two together and try and understand, how do we then identify what problems we solve? Maybe you guys can help Jane here in this sense. What problems do you think Jane can solve given her skills and experiences, and the proof her accomplishments. Can you type into the chat box? What do you think are Jane's areas that Jane can solve? What are the problems can Jane solve? Can you type into the chat box? What do you think? Geographic challenges, interesting. Geographic challenges, what else? Any other problems you think she can solve? Anything related to marketing? What do you think? What is the problem she can solve as far as marketing? Achieve business revenue, marketing strategies. What about marketing strategies? Social media visibility, awareness. Okay, awareness is not a problem. The lack of awareness is a problem. Increase in sales. So again, low sales. All right, that is not increase in sales is not a problem. Social media strategy is not a problem. Okay, it is a statement. It's not a problem. Brand awareness. What is the problem for brand awareness? Low brand awareness. Okay, that is the problem. Okay, so executing successful marketing strategies is not a problem. It is a way we do it. So what is the problem? The problem is maybe inefficient or poor marketing strategies. Okay, those are the problems. All right. So I want you to be very, very clear about what these problems are. Right? Because if you take the trouble in wording the problems correctly, it helps you think about what those problems are. Most of you, when you write down in the chat box, they're more focused on how you do it, or it's just statements. They are not problems, right? Somebody said, Carol said, poor branding and marketing of company. That is a problem, all right? So here, if you look at it, these are the problems that Jane can solve, all right? Poor consumer sales, low engagement in social media platforms, and in decrease in brand awareness, which I saw some of you mention, inefficient collaboration within teams, increasing in resulting in missed deadlines, decreased productivity and quality of work. Okay, so those are problems as a result of her skills and experience and accomplishment. These are the problems that Jane can solve. Okay, you need to think of this in that way as well. You need to think of this in that way as well. Now, I will tell you how you're going to use this information in a little while. Okay, but let me go on to the next step. All right, so here, remember this one, her accomplishments. Right, her accomplishments. So now what we need to do is reword the accomplishments to become statements on how she solves problems. All right. So if I look at this, the first one, okay, develop comprehensive marketing strategies that achieve business revenue and marketing share targets every year. Right, that is her accomplishment. So how does she show that? How does she reword that to show that that is how she solves problems? So let me give you write this example for you. So she creates comprehensive marketing strategies that align with business objectives and effectively reach target audience. Right? So hopefully you can see that. Let's try the second one. Launch at least 6 major social media campaigns per year and increase audience click-through rate by 200%. So how does she reword this to show that that is the way she solves problems? Because that is an accomplishment. What do you guys think? Launch at least 6 major social media campaigns. How can you reword that to show that that is how you solve the problem? Develop impactful social media strategies to engage audience and build awareness. Right? So that's how she solved problems. Okay, so the last one. Manage over 30 marketing and social media specialists across 3 different countries. That's her accomplishment, right? So how can we reword this to show that how she solves problems? Foster good team dynamics to leverage collective strengths to achieve marketing goals and deliver successful campaigns, right? So you can see here, right? If you can reword these 2 components, right? The problems you solve and how you solve the problems, right? It crystallizes in your head what benefits and what value add you can bring to your prospective employer. Okay, so that is very critical here. Okay, so if you want to take a screenshot of this, do so. By all means, do so. So coming back to this question of how then you use that information, the problem-solving information, right? So here in this case, Jane says those are the areas they can solve, the problems she can solve. All right. So what she means now here to do is then she can go and find companies that have that problem, right? So we find company A has got a problem in launching social media product, launching new product, or if a company has got poor track record of their social media campaign, Jane will come to the company and say, I can help you with this because I have got experience in doing this. I have got experience in doing this, all right? And then when she does this and she communicates this regularly to her network, her LinkedIn profile and whatever, right? What it means here is that it becomes part of her brand. It becomes part of her brand. So this is so critical for you to understand this. I've seen some okay, I don't know how, right? If you are doing the resume, okay, you can actually put in the problems that you solve as part of your career summary. Okay, so you can say that Jane can put in a comments to say that she is an expert in social media strategies. She's an expert in launching new products across multiple countries. Right, she has very good experience in building marketing teams. Right, that can be put in the career summary, and that is the portion that recruiters, employers will look at first before they look at everything else. Okay, so you want to capture their attention at the top, right? Then later on, then you put in all the skills and experiences and then your accomplishment. So to address that question, to say that not resume writing must show figures in your achievement, yes, where you put the figures, right? The accomplishments and all that. Okay, I'm not saying that you put down how you solve the problems in your resume. You can use how you solve your problems when you are talking to people in the interviews or in your networking sessions. All right, in the interviews and networking session. All right, but the key thing here, my recommendation, and it has worked with many of my clients, is to put what problems you solve as part of your career summary so that it captures the attention of the reader. On average, how many seconds do people look at the resume? Can you all guess or not? How many seconds do people spend on looking at the resume? Yeah, Gary says 6 seconds, right? Mostly less than 10 seconds. 6 seconds is about the market average. So you have to capture the attention straight away. Okay, if you put down problems you can solve that is not relevant to them, then obviously they're not going to look at you. And obviously that company is not going to be attractive for you because you have no value add to that company. All right. Now, LinkedIn profile, similar. Okay. You can, in the about section, put down what are the problems you solve. And then in the experience section, in the LinkedIn profile, you can put down similarly to what you put down in your resume. But only put down relevant experience. Huh? Now, what I mean by relevant experience is really relevant to the job or the career path that you want to go to. All right. All right. Okay. Good. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means, do so again. All right. That is the portion of who you really are. Okay, who you really are. Right. And it's really about how you align with your personal identity. So again, I want to bring Jane in just to let her share with you what exactly she has gone through and the things that she have gotten out of those series of exercises.
After going through the exercises, I have gained great insights about my skills, preferences, and the problems I can solve. In the past, I usually just listed down all my skill sets and experiences. However, by doing the skills exercise, it was empowering to see a clear picture of what I excel at and enjoy doing, as well as areas where I have room for growth. The skills exercise also helped me in looking at how I can help others. Previously, I focused more on what I could do as a marketing person. But I realized this was too one-sided, and ignored issues others are facing.
It's so much more impactful when I can present myself as someone who can solve their problems. It makes it easy for me to connect much quicker as a problem solver, as someone that can help them.
All right. So you can see here the things that Jane have gone through, right? Hopefully the exercises that you will go through as well, essentially is looking at who you are. Okay. What are the skills you bring to the table? What are the benefits you bring to the prospective employer? So that is something you need to really understand and appreciate for yourself. So let's go on to the next portion, is really looking at what career options you have after you have gone through those particular exercises. Essentially, if you look at it, there are two categories, isn't it? There are two categories. Either you stay in the job or in the same career path, or you quit the job or you change totally your career path. Okay? So let's say we talk about staying on, right? If you are currently employed, you have issues at work, right? Should I stay on? Or if you are in a particular job, particular role, and you're thinking, should I continue with that career path? For example, if you're an accountant and you feel that, hey, accounting is not me, should I change my path to maybe become an auditor, or should I continue as being an accountant, right? So here essentially are three questions you need to ask yourself. Why am I not happy? Will things get better? What can I do about the things that I'm not happy about? Okay, three questions you must really ask yourself. Okay, and the reason why I really want you to understand this is really because then it forces you to look at who you are, right? So going back to the exercises that we've done in the first portion, right? You start thinking about, hey, is my unhappiness because I'm using skills that are in a burnout portion, or is it because a lot of things I'm doing are not aligned with what's important to me, or is it because I'm just not motivated to do the job or the career path? Okay, you have to ask yourself that, right? But basically, I want you to be able to force yourself to avoid a knee-jerk reaction. Because many a time when my clients come to see me and say, I'm really unhappy in my job, I want to switch careers, I want to quit, I have to pull them back from the precipice, and say, hey, let's take a step back and really examine what is the real issue here, right? Many a time when I ask them to go through those three things, these three questions, many times they start thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't be so rash, okay? So that's where I want you to go through as well. I want you to take a step back and think, hey, maybe, I need to rethink and say, what is the real issue for me? Okay? Next part here is this. If you then decide, oh, I want to quit, I cannot tahan anymore and all that. Basically, there are two options for you right now, right? Either you change a job, but in the same industry, same role, or what some people have mentioned, you change career paths, okay? So here again, I'm going to share with you a little table, which I think I've shared with many other people here. So you have 4 boxes, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So number 1 is same career, same industry. Number 2, same career, change industry. Number 3, change career, same industry. And number 4, everything changed. Can you type into the chat box? Tell me, which one is the most difficult one? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Yeah, unanimous. Everybody says it's 4. Yeah, it's 4 because what? You have to reinvent yourself because everything is changed. Everything is changed, right? But the thing here, if you want to do that, right, even if it is changing a job as simple as going into a different career, either in box 2 or box 3, or even retaining your job in the same career, same industry in box 1, you have to consider this. Sacrifices. Sacrifices. Whenever you change your career situation, whenever you change your job situation, there's always something you need to think about. What are you going to let go, right? In terms of your sacrifice. Can you type into the chat box, what do you think are some of the sacrifices you need to make whenever you change job, whether it's in the same industry, same career and all that, right? Let me just see what people are saying. Salary, upskilling, pay, start totally new, a lot of seniority, comfort level, working hours, upskilling, reskilling, familiarity again, right? Need to learn new things. What else is there? Experiences, new environment, maybe start from scratch again, especially for those that are switching careers. Yeah, you're right. So essentially, sacrifices could be categorized into these areas, right? Financial stability. Are you going to sacrifice financial stability? All right. What about work-life balance? Do you have to start from scratch? You know? Are you going to let go of the skills and experiences you have accumulated over the years? Is your job going to be stable, more stable? Right? Status. you are director level, you change career or whatever, you go become a manager level, all right? All the progress that you made in your career, do you have to sacrifice that, right? Familiarity, many of you mentioned that. Existing network, if you change industry, change job, are you going to forsake the network that you have already developed over the last few years or so? So you have to consider these are the sacrifices you need to make. Then the question you have to ask yourself is this: how do I know whether I'm willing to make those sacrifices? Well, first things first, you need to see whether it aligns with your values. That's why I come back to this thing about values at work. If you know what your values are, why are you willing to make sacrifices that countermand those values that you have already developed that's important to you? Okay, so that's the first thing you need to know. Okay, risk tolerance. Every one of us have different degrees of willingness and ability to take risks, right? Those of you who have got a family commitment, or your risk tolerance may be very different from someone who is single and available, right? Are you willing to rebuild? Sometimes you find that I spend so much time and effort in building something. Am I willing to go through the whole process again? Now, rebuilding what? Rebuilding what? Right? Status, your network, maybe even rebuilding your skills and experience. Your skills and experience. Yeah. How does it match up with whatever goals that you have? Right? Whatever goals that you have. Right? And last, but I think is most important, do you have a support system to help you go through all the sacrifices you need to make? So if you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means do so. All right. So let's recap this whole section. So first thing here, the factors to consider. First thing here is to look at who you really are, right? I mentioned this, that there needs to be an alignment between who you are at work when you're performing your job at work in your career versus who you are as a person. Okay? You need to understand that as much as possible, you want to have alignment between these two identities. The greater the alignment, the similarity, the easier and the more long-lasting your career journey will be. In order to find this out, basically 4 questions you need to ask yourself. Okay, what's important to you, what engages you, what you like to do, and what you are good at. And answering these will give you an indication of your values at work. Your values at work. The other critical component you need to know is how you use all those 4 boxes as a combination to solve problems. Okay, and really here we are talking about problem solving as a benefit we give to the employer, so that we can command the money that we want to get paid for. As far as options are concerned, what options do we have? Well, essentially, if you look at it, there are 2 broad categories, right? So if you want to stay on your job or career path, ask yourself these 3 questions. Why am I unhappy? Will it get better? What am I going to do about this? What can I do about this? Okay. If you want to quit, then you have to think about, do I quit in terms of a new job, same career, same industry, or you want to do a switch in terms of your career, right? But whatever you do, you need to understand the sacrifices that you need to make. All right, so let's talk about the next portion, which is the actions to take. So remember, we said that there were essentially 2 portions that we want to take a look at, right? So here, we're saying that, after going through all the things that we did in the first part, all right, where we took a look at who you really are, right? Those are the areas that you assess yourself, all right? Then you start thinking about, then what are the things that I need to do to explore certain things, right? Career exploration. Here, you're really talking about these categories, right? What skills are organization really interested in? What type of organization supports my values? And what type of job really is aligned with my interests and personality? All right. So in this sense, if you look at it, there are a few, you just have to link it up. So what skills you do well is really about job function. What the career values is really about the environment, the work environment that you are in, right? And then also the tasks. If you look at the task itself, then what are the things that you need to do day to day that really motivates you and engages you? All right. So if I take a step back again and look at this notion of trying to address these 3 questions, here then we take a look at how does this clash with the values that we have, all right? So I want to bring Jane in again, just basically to give you an illustration of the issues that she went through when she first started with me, to give you an idea of what was causing her pain, and then also what was trying to identify from there what was important to her, right? So you take a listen to this.
Hello, everyone. When I came to CUN, I've worked in marketing for over 20 years and was in a senior position in my company. But I was feeling unfulfilled and stagnant in my current role. I was working on the same type of marketing campaigns for years and felt like I was not growing or learning new skills. And my company didn't have any room for me to move further up the ladder, as I was already ahead of the marketing team. I really wanted to know what my options were, especially when I heard rumors of a corporate takeover. At that time, I needed guidance and clarity to consider how I could redesign my career.
All right. So you see that when Jane first came to see me, those were the things that was really bothering her. After going through the exercises that I shared with you in the first part, right, then she basically identified what her values were. So you at the very minimum need to go through the process of trying to identify what those values are for you, right? So for Jane, these were the things that was important to her: meaningful work, learning opportunities, so on and so forth. We see the whole thing there. All right. So what then do you do with the information? What is the actionable part of this now that you have gone through those exercises? So Jane basically said, hey, after doing those career values, she found that those in the orange box were not satisfactory for her. Hey, growth, job security, learning opportunities, meaningful work. Those were the things that were not she was not happy about. All right. So if you go through this, you might also find out what's bothering you as far as your current situation is concerned, whether you are employed or whether you are in transition. Okay, what is your current situation? How is it affecting your work values? Okay, so if I use Jane again as an example, then she identified, hey, these areas: job security, career growth, meaningful work, learning opportunities, they are something that's important to me, but it's not happening for me in my current job. So I asked her, is it really true that other companies, other industries, other roles are better for you, right? Is the grass really greener on the other side? So if you look at those things as important to her, the question she had to ask herself was, how can I find out information whether those things that's important to me is really the case, that's really positive in other places? Can you look for this in the job description? Can you find this out in the, the company profiles and all that? What do you guys think? Chances are probably not, right? If you can't find out this type of information online or in the job description and all that, then how do you find out this information? So the question is, how do you find out this information? Can you type into the chat box, where do you think you can find out the information like this? Now, if you are in Jane's shoes, how do you find out about all those things that's important to her? Right? Alim said people already working there, Glassdoor reviews, possibly. What else? Job reviews, ask friends within the company website. All right. So some of you mentioned online research again. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do online research. What I'm suggesting here is that there should be a more up-to-date and accurate way of getting the information like this that you need to get. And that is the best way. And this is by what? Talking to people. Okay. So those of you who are just relying on desk research like JobStreet, Glassdoor, what I'm suggesting to you is that you do this as well. Talk to people either who are working in that job, in that industry, or in that role. Ask them about the nature of the job. Find out from them all those things that are important to you. Does it meet your expectations or not? Does it meet your expectations? That's what Jane did. But Jane did something in addition to this, okay? Because by talking to the people outside, what she found was that, hey, actually things are not as good as I hoped it would be. So then I asked her, then why don't you do this? why don't you take a step back and do a reflection of your current situation now? And that is something I need all of you to do as well. Remember my comment about don't take a machine gun approach, knee-jerk approach, and just react to things that you're not happy about. Take a step back and say, hey, did my own behavior affect the way I interact with people within the company, or the fact the way I get promoted and all that? All right. Are there any good things in the job that I liked? It's really very difficult to find elsewhere. Okay. And that's precisely what Jane did. Then you need to answer things like, will it get better? What can I do about those things that's bothering me? Right. So then you have to ask yourself this. Right? You cannot solve it. You cannot solve. It's likely to be a reality, isn't it? So can you tell me, type into the chat box, what are the problems you think are reality that you cannot solve in your job or in your career? Can you type into the chat box? What are the things that you cannot solve? Somebody said company culture, difficult bosses, could be. People within the organization. A lot of talk about people, politics, ways of working. Yeah. There's also outside the company as well, right? Something that's affecting the company, right? It's not just about because the people within the company maybe is a reaction of the way you behave within the company as well. That's what I'm suggesting. Okay. So it's not necessarily the people within the company itself, but the way the company operates, the culture, that is something very, very important to consider. It is something that you have to think about. Say, hey, can I tahan this? Right? So some examples of things that you cannot change. So somebody mentioned here, company not doing well, or company is going to be bought over, industry decline, company closed down, and all that. Right? So if you look at it, Jane's issues here: career growth, job security, meaningful work, learning opportunities. The question here is whether any of these are things that she cannot influence. All right? You have a think about it, because it is not so straightforward, as not so clear-cut as you may think. Because I'm sure many of you would think, no, Jane is probably thinking that's not the job for her, that's not a company for her, because those issues are always be there. Well, so the thing now here is this. When Jane took a step back, and this is something I suggest you to do, what can she do about, what could she have done about her current situation? Really falls down to two basic principles, two basic areas, right? Can she transfer to a new job, new role, a new department within the company? Or can she modify certain aspects of her job to make it more fulfilling for her? All right. So that's going through her head right now. And this is something maybe you need to think about if you are in the same situation, that you're feeling unhappy in your current job, or if you're unhappy in your the career that you're doing. What can you? So as far as Jane was concerned, then she came and asked me, right? How do I do this? How do I find out all these things? Well, who is the first person you need to talk to if you are working in the company and you are not happy? Some type in the chat box. Who is the first person you need to talk to? Many people put HR. Okay, some put supervisor, boss, and all that. All right. My suggestion here, all right, HR is one of them, but HR should not be the first person you talk to. The first person you talk to is the boss, especially if you have an okay relationship with the boss. Okay. However, many of you have also said, right, if the boss is the problem, then how? Then obviously, then maybe the next course of action is to talk to HR. Say, hey, I got getting along with this person. For I need to look at, is there any opportunity for me to change teams or whatever? Okay, so these are the two key people you need to talk to, right? But there is another group of people that you also need to talk to regarding the internal opportunities. Okay, who are the people that you need to talk about? It's really your colleagues, right? People from the other departments, right? The other team. You can ask them, hey, is there any opportunity for me or not? What is it like working in there? Then you ask the questions about, hey, do you think it's suited for me, and all that sort of thing. All right. There was one question here, if the boss is the HR, what can you do, especially if the boss is not open-minded? that is a tricky part already. Then you have to decide whether how long can you stay, what is the real issues. Take a step back and try and understand, why is the boss behaving or treating you like this? Is there something? Can you go up to the boss and have a heart-to-heart chat with that person and say, hey boss, understand two of us, there's certain areas of tension. How can we work best together? How can we work best together? Or you want to anticipate it, especially when a new boss comes in. How can you work best together? All right. I did this when I had a change in boss, right? And that boss who came in was less experienced than me and younger than me, right? But that person came in and became my boss because she had other responsibilities that put her at a higher level, which is fine. So I was upfront with her and said, hey, how can we work together for the unit? We had heart-to-heart talk, and basically what we decided was that perhaps we can designate certain areas that I will drive, and there'll be certain areas that she drives, but obviously we have to work closely together. Okay, so maybe that's something you can do as well. That's why there's this comment, if you tell HR will tell my boss, and my boss will feel I go over his head. That's why I suggest you talk to the boss. Okay, I always feel that is the first port of call that you have to make. Okay, now if you cannot talk to the boss and you talk to HR, you have that concern about HR going over telling your boss. Maybe you have to be upfront with HR. Say, hey, this is a sensitive issue. I don't think my boss can take it very well. How can I manage the expectations? Right? Let HR come and tell you what you can do. Okay, maybe they have certain insights that you don't. Okay, right. How do you make decisions? So this is a matrix that I'm suggesting and I've used with many of my clients. So on the left side would be the values, the value you have. You got to rank them. Okay, maybe in this case, the client, this meaningful work is ranked number 1. Maybe your first value could be job security. That could be your first value. Okay, so you put up as number 1. So it's up to you to rank those values, right? Then you have alternatives, whether you stay on, whether there's different career paths and all that for you. So A, B, C, and D, right? So that is your decision matrix that you can use to help you decide. All right. So now, let's listen to what Jane has finally decided. Okay, what Jane has finally decided. Remember, I told you it wasn't as clear-cut as you might think.
When I went through the redesign process with Yuan, I was looking for strong guidance in identifying what options I had. The exercises helped a lot in clarifying my thoughts, and made me look outside of my normal parameters. Perhaps I can share what eventually happened soon after. I was able to adjust some of my work, and developed in-house expertise in the new social media channels, and gradually moved a portion of our marketing to more community-focused efforts. A year later, my company was bought over by another global FMCG company. I was transferred to the new regional office where I took charge of Southeast Asia marketing activities for our brand. I believe my positive outlook and willingness to relook at the way things are done helped me a lot in making this possible.
So you see here, wasn't as clear cut, right? I'm sure many of you thought that, hey, it's Jane will leave. That's the best course for her. But in going through the discussion I had with Jane, what she thought when she didn't feel that her boss was receptive to any changes she might propose. But she went ahead and asked anyway. And guess what? She managed to do that. Okay? No harm in asking. All right? So that's what I need you to do. If you don't know if it works, try it out. Okay? If you don't know if your boss will accept it, why don't you try it out and ask him? Okay? If you cannot get along with your boss, right, maybe secondary option is talk to HR, but make sure the HR understands your situation. That's your situation. Now, so Jane essentially stayed on, okay? And her good behavior, her positive attitude basically meant that even though the company was taken over, she still managed to survive and in fact progress within the company, right? Now, I want to throw in a spanner here and say that, like many of you would be thinking, what if Jane decides to switch, right? What if she decides to switch to a different area, right? What if she decides to switch to a different area? What do we mean by this? Basically, switch career. And if we switch career, if she switched career, then the question she needs to ask herself is that what career should she switch to? Now, I've actually done workshops on changing careers. So I don't have time to actually talk about all that. I'm going to refer you to the video, the playlist, right, that I've compiled in my YouTube channel. But what I'm going to do is that over the next few slides, I'm just going to sort of give you some key tips. If you feel that you are wanting a career switch, you need to think about all these things first before jumping into making a career switch. Okay? But if you want more details on how exactly to make a career switch, refer to the videos in the by WSG. First tip, make sure if you change careers, you are changing for the right reasons. So if you look at this, Jane, her reasons for unhappiness are those that's highlighted in yellow or orange. Stagnation, dissatisfaction, new challenge, misalignment, job security. So the question you need to ask yourself is this. Given the difficulty in switching careers, are those reasons strong enough to push you to switch careers? Or should you just consider changing to a different company instead? All right? Which of these reasons are strong enough to motivate you to make the effort and take the pain in switching careers? My suggestion here is the following. If you have issues that are highlighted here below, chances are these are probably good enough reasons for you. It will motivate you to make the effort, take the sacrifices to make a career change. Things like, the career is misaligned with what is important to you. You have lack of job security. Maybe it's affecting your health, that job or that career path, right? You have totally new interests, right? Or you want to do something for yourself, something I can relate to at the last part, all right? So message here is this. You want to do a career switch, do it for the right reasons and make sure these reasons are strong enough so that it will motivate you to make the effort and make the sacrifices, because there will be. Now, the other thing then, it relates back to whether you are willing to make the sacrifices or not, right? Instead of jumping to box 4, remember I told you about box 1, 2, 3, 4? Instead of jumping all the way to box 4, can you pivot? And what do I mean by this? So remember I said here, 1 to 4 is very difficult, right? There's high risk, high difficulty. Reinvent yourself. You need to reinvent yourself, right? However, if you pivot, what it means here is that every time you pivot, you have at least one strong leg to stand on. So for example, if you change from 1 to 3, right? From 1, which is career industry, and you to 3, you change career but same industry. Your strong leg is that you're still within the industry that you're familiar with. Okay? If you come to 2, your strong leg here is that you are in the same career role, even though the industry is different. So at least you have something strong to stand on, which means you are still able to tell people, the recruiter, the company, you have transferable skills you can bring to the table. Once you have established track record in those 2 areas, then maybe you can go to box 4. So my strong tip here for you is really to make sure you understand what your transferable skills are, right? And if you want to have a higher chance of success in making a career switch, consider a career pivot first, not a total switch. Total switch here, I mean, is jump straight to box 4. A pivot is either going from 1 to 3 or 1 to 2. Okay? Next tip, you need to understand this concept. Iceberg. Most of the things are hidden below the waterline. This is the same as jobs. Most of the jobs are hidden, right? What you see advertised as jobs in the papers or online platform are only at most 30% of the total opportunities that you see there. Okay? So if you are doing a career switch and you're just applying to advertise jobs, remember what I said about the 70% criteria, minimum 70%? If you don't fulfill the 70% criteria, then chances of you getting called up is not so good, right? So you have to understand, how do you attack the hidden job market? How do you attack the hidden job market? Again, I've done a full workshop on this. This link will be given to you in the summary slides, right? So take a look at this. This is another 2 to 3 hour workshop just to tell you how can you attack the hidden job market, something which is so critical that all of us need to understand. Next, when you're considering exploring what type of careers you want to switch to, right? There are many different ways to find out this information, right? Many of you have mentioned, right, going online, searching for information on the platforms and all that sort of thing, right? Fine, do that. But like I mentioned earlier on, the most impactful way you can find information and also to tell people you're interested in developing your new network is really to talk to people, build your network. Okay. Now again, many slides. Okay. Building networks is a critical part of making a career switch. Another tip here, you can go all out and try and look for hidden opportunities. You can apply for jobs and all that. But what if you did things that attracted opportunities to you, right? Like the bee to the flower. Okay. The opportunities come to you because of what? Of what you have done to your own personal brand, right? So again, I've done workshops on this before, okay? But essentially the whole idea is that you need to be able to craft a message out there that attracts people to come to you. So the next tip is to make sure you understand how change impacts you and how you can cope with the change, because making a career switch is really about change, right? So you need to be able to have the right mindset to cope with the changes that's going to come to you, right? Again, I'm going to talk about this. In fact, I think my next workshop is actually going to be this particular topic. Career switch tips, I've given that to you, but there's a lot more in the videos. Go and take a look at that. Now, what I want to spend the next couple of minutes on is really to make sure you understand how you bridge the gap, okay? Your current state to your desired state. What can you do? Essentially, you look at it, you want to create an action plan, right? You want to create an action plan. What are the steps you need to do to create an action plan? So I want to go through with you a few things to how to create an action plan. Just a little framework, right? So that you can go back and think, yes, that's how I can do it, right? So take a look at it. I'm going to spend maybe the next 3 minutes or so talking about this. So first thing, identify what is your end goal and by when you want to do this. Example here, I want to have a marketing career in 2 years' time. Okay, so first intermediate goal now is this. All right, how do I achieve this? Connect with 8 key marketers over the next 3 months. That is one intermediate goal, because that intermediate goal will help you achieve your long-term goal. All right, so activities, what can you do? So here, find out from the network, research and connect on LinkedIn, conduct 5 information interviews by November. So those activities will help you achieve that first intermediate goal. Second intermediate goal, maybe you shortlist 8 companies, target companies within the next 2 weeks. Right? And how do you do this? Those are the activities you need to do. Right? Intermediate goal 3, go for qualification. There was a question here earlier on about whether you should take a university degree or a diploma degree. Right? You need to understand, by taking a degree, how is that going to help your plan? Is it worthwhile that you make the sacrifice to take the effort to go for that degree so that you can meet your goal? If that is part of your goal, then you should build it into your action plan. Right? And then these are the activities that you can do. But something is missing here. Something is missing here. So it's good to have goals and intermediate goals and activities. But then what you need to have to help you achieve those goals. What are the resources you need, right? For example, if you need help to find out from your network, find out, who you need to connect to in the LinkedIn profile, or if you need help to create a good LinkedIn profile, who do you get help from, right? So you need to be very specific. Do you need help in this area? You need help in this area. Specify the areas or the help you need and who can help you and who can help you. All right. So this is a really useful framework I've used for my clients. And in fact, I use it for my own coaching students as well. I use to certify students to become career coaches and use the same framework. Right. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means do so. So let's take a recap of this particular portion of actions to take. Right. All right. So we need to look at career exploration. So these are the areas you want to explore, right? What skills are organizations looking for? What type of organization best supports your values? What job is aligned with my interests and traits, personality? And so you focus on these three areas here. Okay? Job function, environment, job task. If you're going to look at the types of careers, if you're saying, oh, I want to make a break from the company or the career path, then you got to basically look at two particular segments, right? Whether it's another company in the same industries, same role, or you want to make a career switch. You want to make a career switch. When you are exploring, right, information sources are plenty, but your immediate port of call should be your network if you're looking outside, or internally to the relevant people that can help in your career development within the company. This notion of the hidden job market, very, very critical. And I feel it doesn't only apply to career switches. In fact, even if you are working in the same industry, same role, you should also consider the opportunities that are not advertised. Okay, so consider what's going on underneath the waterline. Okay. So let's go through the overall summary of today's session. So here, I started off by saying the definition. So career is about a series of jobs, and therefore, when you look at redesigning your career, these are the things that you need to look at. All right. The key thing here is to make sure you drive the process. You don't let the organization or other people drive the process for you. You are the driver of your own career design. I basically focus on two areas: what to consider and what actions you can take. Okay. Here, first part here is to focus on who you really are. So seeking alignment with your professional as well as your personal identity. Then from there, you take a look at what are your options available to you, especially if you're thinking about maybe different career paths and all. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. How do you decide? You look at all these things that you see here. What are your goals? What are your priorities? What's important to you? What sacrifices you're willing to make? And then these are the areas you should focus on. The skills. What skills are organizations find valuable for you? Okay, what type of organization best supports your values? And what job is aligned to your personality and your interests. Career redesign is a journey. It is not a destination. Okay? If you are on a journey, do focus on how you go about identifying which path the journey you take. Okay? But also be prepared. Sometimes the destination shifts. So what I've done is I've decided to put together everything that I know into an ebook. So this ebook will help people who are either not happy in their current role, in their jobs or careers, people who are in transition, or people who just need some guidance. If you are unsure on what to do, a resource like this ebook is going to help you. All right. Now, I plan to sort of make this ebook available in August 2024. Now, what's going to be inside this ebook? Apart from the things that I've talked about today, and also in a lot more detail, I'm also going to talk about all these things that you see here. How to try and identify the real problem, what's the identity, how to talk about your purpose in your career work, and then how to make a career switch, what you can do in your personal branding, and last, how can you use AI to help you in your career redesign process. And if you are interested in sort of being kept in the loop, because I'm also getting news about when this book will be available and any special offers that come on. So this link will help me understand what are you focusing on in terms of your career redesign, so that then I'm going to customize that book to try as much as possible to help meet your needs. So let's sort of close this off. This is my next few workshops that's coming up. Right? Coping with change is actually happening in the next couple of weeks. Right? So if you are interested in that, register in the same way that you registered for today's workshop. Right? Then August, I have a workshop specifically on developing a career switching strategy. So let me sort of touch on the last part here, which is this thing about getting the links and all that. So I'm going to put into the chat box now, okay, is the this link here you see, the Career Bliss link, okay. Here there are a few things that I would like to bring your attention to, okay. So the first thing here is the Telegram channel. So you see in the highlighted box here, various ways to get in touch with me. So if you want to email me, you want to join my YouTube channel, you just click on the link, one of the links there, it goes, okay, brings you directly to my YouTube channel. All right. So for those of you who have been asking me about where to go, what is the URL for my YouTube channel, is in there. It's in there. Okay. So go to the Career Bliss. I just type in for you. All the ways to get in touch with me and all that is there. All right. Now, those of you who want to get a recording of today's session, I need you to fill up this thing here for PDPA purposes so that I can email you the link when it's ready. Give me at least 2 weeks, if not more, because the next workshop is actually in 2 weeks' time. So I might combine both workshops into one email, one newsletter. So when you give me permission to send you the information, I'm going to send it to you in the form of a newsletter, which I only send once a month. So, but I need you to fill this out. Otherwise, I don't have your permission. I'm not going to be able to send you that email link. Right. So here you can see some samples of my previous workshops. So you can take a look at that. Okay. Those of you who are asking me about the mini ebook on the AI, how to use AI to your job search, right? If you want, you can take a look at that. It's there in this channel. You can take a look. Or if you want to watch the whole video, go to my YouTube channel where there's a couple of workshops video workshops on career confidence after 40, right? So you can take a look there. Then there are a couple of other things, resources you can look at in this place where I have useful resources. I collect useful resources for people to look at to refer to on their career journey as well. So you can take a look there as well. You have to stop thinking that you are stuck in your current situation, right? Don't confuse a season for a lifetime. So all your trials always have an expiration date. So this is my message to you. If you're having difficulties now, all right, don't despair, okay? Just make sure that you have the right resources to help you. You know what you need to do, all right? Take one step at a time. No rush. Take one step at a time. Thank you, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.
Hi, thanks for watching this video. If you like what you've seen and can't wait for the next one, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel in the link below. See you soon.